Hi, this is Doug Jefferson, and this is my Module 14 case study. What I know this takes place in a affluent community in a large city. Dr. Harvey Smith has been the principal there for 9 years. He was the principal of the year 2 years ago, very respected by the parents. He is aware of the school status and hires only the most qualified teachers to teach at his school. Also, I know that Miss Robin Tate was hired a year ago to teach specialized courses. She is a beginning teacher. She's been there a year and a half, it sounds like. She completed her undergrad, her master's, and has 1 year of postgraduate work before she applied for this job. So she's a little older than most first-time teachers. Her students experience high levels of stress because of the rigor of the classroom work. Parents have called about the students' low grades and how stringent she is. On Facebook, someone bashed her and ended it with, "Who wants Miss Tate to disappear?" And she forwarded the link to Dr. Smith, and she assumed that one student, William Hall, did it, and for safety concerns, she went to spend the night with her parents, who live 3 hours away. What I need to know was who sent the email, also whose Facebook page was it posted on, how many students and classes does Miss Tate have, what was the intent of the email. She took it as meaning to kill her. Did it just mean who wants to see her gone or who wants to see her fired? Have there been official complaints filed? Talked about the school getting phone calls. Were any of these put in her folder? Were they made official? Or are they just complaints over the phone? Did something happen before the long weekend that might set a student off? Does Miss Tate have a mentor? Has she been provided with different teaching strategies? And do kids actually receive low grades, or do they get them up for the end of the semester? So, identifying the problem. Miss Tate does not have a good relationship with parents or students. Parents don't want their students receiving low grades. Miss Tate received what she perceived as a death threat. No police were called. This is going to be handled by the principal, and there was one single student, William, who was singled out by Miss Tate because of past experiences in the classroom with him. So my plan of action, step 1, I'm going to conduct a meeting with Miss Tate, the assistant principal, the superintendent, and myself. I'm going to schedule this for Monday morning, and I'm going to get Miss Tate a sub for Monday morning so she doesn't have to worry about being in the classroom, being nervous about anything, and we can get this hashed out, discussed, and everyone gets firsthand word and knowledge of what's taking place. Then I'm going to inform her of the steps available to her, and I'm going to have her create a list of possible suspects, other than William, who's someone else that might have done this. Are there any parents who are upset? Could this have been a parent who did this? So we'll go off that list, not making it public or calling those kids in, but that's our list to go off of. The second step, outline the steps Miss Tate needs to take. She needs to file a complaint, whether it's with the district or file a police report. It needs to be put on record what was said, how she felt, what she thought it meant. With that, she has a choice of paid leave. Does she feel that threatened? Does she need to take some time away? Is she going to be nervous in the classroom? That's not a good thing, because students can always pick up on teachers and that something different's taking place. So does she need to be out of the classroom for a while? And possible lawsuit if suspect is found. This is malice. This is threatening someone firsthand, and with her being a teacher and a student saying this, if it was really a student, that's not good. So a possible lawsuit could be down the road. And step 3, find out where the email originated to identify the person or persons responsible. First off, I'd try to get our technology team in the school, whether it's a guy or a team, and see if they could track it down. Next, I would have the police investigate. If we can't find it through our technology, then maybe we need to go to outside sources. We need to file that police report and let the police investigate it some. And another thing we could possibly do is check with the server company to see if it was from a personal device or a school device. So number 3 here, resolve the issues. And promoting the academic success and personal well-being of every student to ensure a safe working environment for everyone. This doesn't just mean teachers, this also means students. I do not believe this needs to be made public. This will get everyone in a frenzy, uproar, get rumors started. That just wouldn't be good. So just keep it with the administration until you have the meeting with your staff, and I would possibly do that Monday at the end of the school day. Just send out an email, say we're going to have a quick staff meeting, 5 minutes or so, at 3 o'clock or whenever your school day ends in the library, and just tell them what's going on. Also, you cannot accuse one student with no evidence. Just because you don't like that student or he's been a pain in the past doesn't mean he's the one who did it, so I don't think it's fair to accuse one student. Provide appropriate workshops for Ms. Tate. Seminars based on positive communication with students. We all know that you have to have communication with students. You can't just sit there and give them work, and expect them to do their best or be comfortable or have any idea what's going on with them. So you have to be able to communicate. So workshops on classroom management. Are there different things she can try in her classroom? More group settings or whatever it may be, but just something different to where the students get a little more out of it. And maybe the workload isn't so heavy. And district and state guidelines on standards. Is she by far exceeding the standards? Even though it's rigorous in the classroom, is she meeting the standards that need to be met? So she needs to figure out a way to make sure the standards are in there, seeing what's too much, and moving on from there. Putting technology people to work. I mentioned this a little bit ago. Because she was sent a link to view the Facebook post, the district IT people need to find out if it was a school or personal device. The police can investigate if a report is filed, so if she feels like she needs to make a police report, she could do this. And then the police can investigate, and they might have a little more availability to information and dealing with the internet and stuff like that. And whose Facebook was it on? If it's someone in the community's Facebook, if it's a student, if it's a student's brother, sister, if it's a parent, bring them in for questioning. Why was that put on there? Who put it on there? How long has it been on there? Because it might not be anything new. So I think that's important to find out whose Facebook page it's on and see what that person has to say. Debriefing the problem. The thinking part of it. First off, I think Miss Tate overreacted. It said she was crying. She left the house because she didn't feel safe in the house. She took disappearing as meaning killing. I think she overreacted some. I understand people not feeling safe when things like that happen. But disappearing's a long ways from killing. So just based on her personality and not getting along with students very well or parents, I just tend to believe she overreacted. Dr. Smith was wrong to bring in William and his friends first thing Monday morning. I don't think that was a very good idea. You don't want to single someone out right off the get-go, and then the rest of the school day you have William talking to other people, and you're not going to get a word out of anyone. You're not going to hear anything in the hall. Or your teachers aren't going to hear anything in the hall. So why ruin something first off by accusing the kid who possibly had no clue what's even taking place? And why weren't police notified? If She really thought it was a death threat, and she was crying and didn't feel safe at her house. She needed to call the police. They could maybe cruise by her house, once an hour or something. Usually administration's in pretty good with the local police force. Maybe the principal could have talked to him and just said, hey, here's what's going on, and just something to make her feel more safe. So, values. I value Miss Tate's stringent lessons. I think it's important to make students strive to do more than they thought they could. I value Dr. Smith's not overreacting to the situation. Even though I think the police should have been called, I do think he did a pretty good job of not overreacting, because it could have been very easy for him just to jump on board and say, get out of your house or whatever it is. But he did a good job of not overreacting. And I value Dr. Smith trying to keep the stakeholders from unnecessary panic. That's why I think you need to have that meeting Monday morning, so this doesn't get to the students, because they're going to text their parents and word's going to get out. Feelings. I felt like Miss Tate needs to get a life. I think she's a little too serious, a little overboard on everything she does. She needs to relax a little bit, like I mentioned earlier. I feel Miss Tate needs to be required to take some classes or mentored on dealing with students. You have to be able to communicate in education. And I also believe this falls back on Dr. Smith. He needs to have a plan put in place to help her in the classroom. Excuse me. And I feel like they're going to have a hard time pinpointing who did this because of the community they're on. They're affluent families. The kids know how to work the internet. They know how to get around on it. So I think they're going to have a hard time. Debriefing the problem. Unresolved. Why weren't the police notified? Were steps in place to help Miss Tate relate better with students? Was Dr. Smith too worried about the school's reputation and not as worried about his teachers' feelings? Who sent the link to Miss Tate? Whose Facebook page was the message on? And is the school ready to take on well-to-do parents? That's a big deal in a lot of communities where you have affluent parents who are doctors and lawyers, and they have the means to fight anything that might happen to their student. Is the school ready to take on that responsibility? If it's a miscommunication or a misreading of certain words, that's a big step to take a certain family to court, especially if they're pretty well-to-do and connected and in high standing in the community. Standard 5, the education leader at the building level applied knowledge that promoted the success of every student by acting with integrity. And how did I promote the academic success of every student with integrity? The news of this situation was to not be addressed to the student body, so there wouldn't be any panic or gossip that distracted from their education. The correct authorities were brought in to discuss the situation firsthand, so they could hopefully find the suspect quickly while not disrupting classrooms. And one student should not be singled out because he's not a favorite of the teacher. This leads to finger pointing, accusations, mistrust, and then bad things happen. The second part of there, the education, how'd you promote the success of every student by acting with fairness? I don't think it's fair to expose certain students to this situation. Could be very minimal. Could be one student was involved, could be just a handful, but you don't need to expose everyone to this situation. Students were not brought in because of suspicion. I don't think you can bring one student in like William, and the principal was going to bring William in Monday morning. I don't think that's right. And class went on as normal other than the substitute being in the room. I do think you have to have that substitute in there to have that meeting. And so there's not a lot of distractions there. Finally, how did you adhere to ethical principles and professional norms? I didn't allow one student to be singled out. I don't believe that's right. I brought in the police for a statement from the accuser. Miss Tate had an opportunity to file a police report because she felt threatened for her life. And I also brought in the superintendent so options could be discussed. The correct means of getting things done and the correct people were brought in to make sure this got handled the right way. So that's my Module 14 case study. I enjoyed it, and have a good day.